It has another bullet hole. That has to be a bullet hole. What else would make that?
Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another video. Now today, I'm back at the auction yard and we're gonna do another episode of auction car hunting. Now I will say that I am kind of at max capacity when it comes to cars, and I've been really occupied by the fact that I've been rebuilding the Honda Civic as well as my BMW E36 Convertible. But I'm actually planning to put one of my cars up for sale, and I can leave that for another video to explain to you guys what my plan is. In the meantime, I did want to see what's out there. It's been a while since I've done a longer format video like this for auction cars, so I thought I was a little overdue, but I'm glad that you guys have been enjoying the YouTube shorts. Now, before we get into the video, I also wanted to make one quick announcement about my merch. If you want to support the channel and keep this movement going, I've actually made some updates to my merch, as well as I provided a new sticker design for the Biohazard Honda Civic hatchback that I'm very excited to share with you guys. I'll make sure to leave all those links down below. But I think with that being said, there's a lot of really cool cars today, and unfortunately I'm not sitting in any of them right now. I'm actually sitting in a Toyota Camry because this one was just really clean. And for whatever reason this morning, it was a lot harder to find something that was clean and civilized to sit in than usual. So this will be my home office for today. Let's go check out some cars. Okay, so this looks like an Infiniti G37, and I'm already gonna say this was owned by an enthusiast just by the windshield banner. And the fact that it's lowered, it's got the wheels and tires, suspension. This is pretty commonplace for these cars because right out of the box, they make a little over 300 horsepower. They're rear wheel drive. You can get them with a manual transmission. They look pretty nice, but man, this one is very sketchy. Whoa.
Is that a bullet hole?
Whoa, that's actually really scary. Holy cow. Okay, so, I mean, what else would make that? That looks like a bullet hole, if I'm not crazy. This spoiler is all faded. This car is beat up. And just by the temporary tag, it looks like they bought it, and then very recently, and then for whatever reason, now it's here. It's got a manual transmission. The seats are... yeah, it's pretty egregious on the inside of here. I'm not gonna sit in this one either. There's some mildew and mold developing on the passenger side. It smells funky. Oof, this thing is pretty gross, man. But it's a G37. A lot of people like these. I don't even think there's actually any body damage with the front bumper on this one. I think whoever put this on the flatbed, they had to remove it to put this up, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm just speculating right now. I'm looking underneath. I don't see anything too out of the ordinary here. So what is up with this one? I see the horn's like dangling. It's not connected, but that's not a biggie. Let's see here. All right, VQ. The V6, the thing is, any front end collision with these, it really pushes up against the engine, and it's very scary. And it looks like somebody was tampering with it. I see some stuff that's just kind of not connected correctly. The plastic vanity cover's not there. I see some, what is that? Some sort of exposed wire happening here. This thing is so sketchy. I think this hood, is it a different color? I don't know. Yeah, it's a piece. Look, another one.
It has another bullet hole. That has to be a bullet hole. What else would make that?
There's nothing else that would make that, I swear. Unless one of you guys let me know in the comments. I don't know. That's actually pretty horrifying. Avid ones, I think these are kind of like the knockoff TEs. Not the worst thing in the world. The tires look pretty decent. They're not like a glazed donut or anything in the back. And it is an S, so this is a G37S. What a shame, man. These are really beautiful cars. Not to say that this wasn't beautiful, but I think this was in maybe a bad neighborhood or something. Something went down. Yeah, let's get away from this one. All right, now we got this Volkswagen Golf GTI. I feel like whenever I do a longer format auction car hunting video, I always come across one of these that are in relatively good shape. Very popular cars around here, and what's nice is this is the two-door, which I feel like has a little bit better of the body lines. And this generation's a very handsome little hatchback. But the thing is, I'm trying to see if there's any body damage on this one. It doesn't look like it. Makes you wonder what's going on with this thing. It could just also be the fact that it's not a run and drive. Again, on the windshield, I don't see that there's a D on it. They usually put that if it runs and drives. Oh man, it is a manual. You know what, GTI, the interiors, they always nail it with this little plaid. Even when you go back to the first and second generation GTIs, they have some of the best interiors ever. It's seriously awesome. I always thought these ones came with the shift knob that's like a golf ball, but it looks like on this one it's not, which is okay. But it's very clean on the inside of here. It smells good. It's got the key in it because it looks like, I bet you a whole bunch of people are trying to fire this one up, but that's not gonna be the case for today. Let's go through the gears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It feels pretty solid. So what's the deal with this guy? What is this, the 1.8 liter turbo? I mean, they put these in everything. So parts are always gonna be readily available. So even if it is something mechanically wrong with this thing, you get it for cheap. Hey, this might actually be a really good one. I haven't seen one of these in like 15 years. I believe this is a Infiniti M30, which is cool because this is a coupe made by Infiniti. I mean, this is before the G35s of our generation that we're growing up with. This is kind of the foundation of what it used to be. This thing is not clean by any means. It's really beat up, but it is very unique. You don't see too many of these. It's even got all the luxurious bits that you could get back in the 90s. I mean, it's even got the little moonroof. Nice touch. These were known as just being like grand touring highway cruisers of the day. This one has just had it. I mean, it is just in shambles. And this looks like this was sitting in somebody's lawn until they just got sick of it and dumped it here, which is a shame. But again, for somebody that is looking for parts for a car like this would actually be an excellent buy. You get all the panels off of it because it looks relatively straight on the front end, and maybe suspension components, stuff with the engine, because I doubt you're gonna be able to find stuff for this car. You know, oh wow, this is the old school V6. So a 3-liter V6, I believe they put these in the Z31 300ZXs. I mean, it's just spewing all kinds of fluids. Everything is all gunked up. I don't know if this thing runs. I really doubt it, if I'm being honest with you. It's not terrible, but it's not great. I mean, look at this tastefully clapped tape job here. So this thing's destined for the crusher or a junkyard. But I'm sure somebody out there would really enjoy having all the parts for this thing. Wow, you really don't see these anymore. A Jeep Comanche. Jeez, I haven't seen one of these in like 10, 15 years. This one's been sitting for a while, you can tell. Paint's faded, it's got the 4-liter. Okay, not bad. Original wheels. The bed looks okay, but again, you can just tell it's been sitting forever. Looks like they tried putting pieces of concrete in the back, and you can even tell those are deteriorating, so that just kind of tells you the overall condition of this thing. But wow, the inside is so clean. Wow. It's so remarkable for the outside. It's so filthy and disgusting. And then on the inside, it's just practically immaculate. Look at even the dash. No cracks in the dash. This thing's kind of a gem, you know? 188,000 on the clock. I love this little steering wheel. That is a really nice little piece there. It looks like there's some footsteps in it, so couple folks have looked at it, I'm sure. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to open the hood on this one. This was just me kind of passing by. It does need a fender, and the thing is, I just don't think you're gonna be able to find parts for this. It would be very difficult, at least. The rear bumper got kissed in the corner. They put some self-tapping screws through there to hold it together, but really, not too bad, man, not too bad. Hey, I know this car. Wow, it looks exactly like mine. A BMW E36 Convertible. It's black on black, just like mine. But my God, what happened to the top here? Okay, you know, before I go into this, I just want to preface this by saying, as somebody that owns this car, the convertible tops in these are really finicky and miserable because there's like 3 different motors that have to communicate with each other in unison for the deck lid, for example, to come all the way up, for this to retract all the way in, and then for it to seat comfortably, and then for it to roll all the way back from here. There's just so much that can go wrong with these convertible tops, and I think that's why a lot of people stay away from them. So if you can, and you want to save yourself the headache, you know, you can go after getting something, you know, that's a coupe or a sedan if you want to get an E36. But I will say that there is something so liberating about driving one of these with the top down that is so much fun that I think everybody should go out there and enjoy it for what it is. But I will say, the body looks really clean. Just very dirty. But as you know, it likes to rain here, and I'm sure it's gonna keep on raining and all that. Probably gonna ruin this interior if we're being honest. I see some pliers. That's not a good sign. I don't know what the mileage is. Unfortunately, it isn't automatic. I feel like that kind of nerfs these cars a little bit, but you can tell this one has the upgraded Harman Kardon speakers, which is nice. It doesn't have the sports seats. I actually have the sports seat in mine, and I got very lucky with that one. But you can see the rest of the top. This looks like some really cheap replacement one, not the legit stuff. But you have all the architecture here to put this back together. So, I mean, if this one fires up and it runs good, it's not that bad, really. This would clean up and look really wonderful. Just put a top on it, man, it's awesome. You just have to have space for it. You have to have a dry spot for it and really tackle it on. But in typical BMW fashion, I'm sure that there's stuff beyond just the top that's needing fixing. So, okay, so this one is heartbreaking. BMW 7 Series. Look at the green growing on it. What does that tell you? Mechanical issues, because the car is so clean, so clean. If you just gave this a nice bath, wow, this car would just sparkle in the sunshine. It's the best color too, this British racing green. Check on the inside. Yeah, wow, this brings back memories. These are so great. They have this very distinct smell. Every time I get in one of these, no matter how filthy or disgusting, it just smells like an old BMW. Can't put my finger on what it is. Maybe it's the materials they use to build them. But man, this is a nice one. So we already know it's something mechanically wrong. Maybe it needs an engine. But this is the 740i. And usually the V8s, they're pretty stout in these things. You know, they're not bulletproof. It is a BMW after all. Maybe it has some weird electrical gremlins. It's not super duper perfect, so I'm not trying to sell it like that. I'm just a little excited. Okay, hood pops open. Let's check it out. Woohoo! This is a big boy. This is a big old V8. Not too bad though to work on. Of course, I swear every single BMW from this era, they all leak power steering. Why is that? It's terrible. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. You'd have to fire it up to see. I'm sure something mechanical. I guess you could take the engine out, maybe swap this. If you could figure out what's wrong with this one, this would just be so spectacularly beautiful to look at. So I made a video on this Evo, maybe what, 5-6 months ago when I first started making the auction car content, and it's still here. It makes you wonder what's happening. Maybe it has something to do with the title, not being able to get ownership for it and being able to sell it. So they're just kind of sitting on it, but it's like it's gotten dirtier and dirtier as time has gone on because people just keep rummaging through this one. It's pretty beat up, heavily modified. Aftermarket exhaust on it, the wheels, the tires, all the bells and whistles, but you can just tell, man, this thing's just had it. Unless you get it for cheap. And somebody, they modified the nuts off of it. I mean, look at this 4G63, poor thing, covered in mud, and it's got a big, huge turbo. I mean, look at the size of that thing in the headers. So I bet you this thing was going real fast when it crashed. But I mean, if you saw the episode of the Grand Tour with James May's Evo and how they're able to resurrect that, anything is possible. Oh, check out this bad boy, Lexus LS400. This body style in particular, I think is one of my favorites of all time. Now, I've actually owned 2 of the first gen LS400s, and one of them actually had the factory air ride suspension. And I tell you, that car was so freaking smooth. Probably one of the smoothest cars I've ever owned, really. For how old it was seriously impressive how that thing just glided on the highway. The only downfall with these is that they're big, so they're difficult to park. So if you live in a big city or something like that, parallel parking these things is pretty much hopeless. And they consume gas like there's no tomorrow. And especially in this day and age, with gas prices as they are right now, it's not gonna be the most economical solution. This one is torn up, it's beat. This thing's been abused, which is truly a shame. I don't think this is gonna be the one you wanna buy, but just going back to it, if you can find one of these, a really clean one, nice, they're not terribly expensive. And really, if you just want something that you're gonna drive long distances, like if you wanted something for like a road trip, for example, these are the cars. I'm telling you, man, this is where it's at. And the V8s they use in these, I believe it's the 1UZ, it's seriously bulletproof. I mean, there's not really too much you have to worry about there. Overall, nice car, black on black, but this one's beat. So I wouldn't feel too confident in bidding on this unless you wanted to try and get it for dirt cheap, see what you could do with it. The body's actually pretty decent, a little bit of a tap in the trunk, but that's really not a big deal. And I found this one just hiding in the back. I swear I was just gonna walk right past it, but there was no way I wasn't gonna check this one out. BMW E34 525i. So, a few years ago, I actually had a 91 535i, and I absolutely adored that car. I ended up trading it for a Lexus LS400, and mine was the British Racing Green, and I bought it with a hole in the oil pan. I had no idea if the engine was any good. I replaced the oil pan, put it all back together, and it fired right up. It was so sweet. It was higher mileage, but that's okay. I got to enjoy it as much as I did, and then I moved on. But this one is definitely not clean, and I can tell it's been sitting for months. When you start to see this stuff accumulating around the little trims of the taillights and the exhaust and things of that sort, you know it's been sitting for a while. But what shocked me the most is these wheels. Now, if these are original Borbit wheels, these are probably worth more than the entire car itself. Like, if you were a serious enthusiast and you wanted to just rescue the parts off of this, you clean these up and make them look original again, I'm sure these are worth a small fortune. And it also has upgraded drilled and slotted rotors. So at one point in time, somebody really loved this thing a lot. Trust me, I can just tell by this one. The key lock is missing, which is fascinating. And then, oh, yep, and there you go. So this was a parts car. Somebody primarily used this to get some parts out of it. Maybe it even got stolen. Let's see over here. No. I don't think these usually get stolen as much as like an old Honda or something like that. So this actually looks okay. What a shame. It is a beautiful thing. I see some wires coming through here. Maybe that's for like an aftermarket stereo. Where's the little hood latch? Yeah, one of my favorite body styles of the 90s BMWs. I know everybody loves the E36. I love the E36. They're really fun. But if you want something that's just a dedicated highway cruiser, these are it. These in the 7 Series, man, you can't beat it. It's just so special. But for whatever reason, I can't open the hood because these open from the front, I believe. And it's just welted shut. Uh-oh. Well, I guess I could spend some more time trying to figure it out, but I think the way it happens is this slides out and this pops open. But I don't know. This is kind of a mystery. I definitely want to bid on this, but if you could just find out where this travels to, and you go out to the wrecking yard that it ends up at or whatever, and you pick these would be a seriously awesome acquisition. All right, guys, next up we have a Subaru Impreza WRX, also known as the Bug-Eye. And the thing is, I actually have one of these. I have a Bug-Eye wagon at home, and I bought it from the auction. It was hitting the corner, lower control arm was bent, and it wasn't the cleanest, and then eventually the motor blew up because, of course, it's a Subaru, but that's another story for another time. So with this one, it looks like they went into some sort of ditch, maybe in the mud, rallying. This looks very familiar. This looks like after a day of rally crossing for us. So I immediately am gonna guess that. This thing is not clean by any means, but the fact that these are slowly dying off, this may make for a really good parts car because it is a manual. It says it's a biohazard on the inside. It doesn't look like there's anything too sketchy. It's just really filthy and disgusting. I'm not gonna sit in this one just for the sake of my own well-being. But if you wanted the full interior, I mean, it's even got clean seats. You don't really see these Bug-Eye seats anymore that are in really good shape. A lot of people would even argue that the Bug-Eye WRX seats are better than the STIs because they have more bolstering for whatever reason. Maybe they just think us Americans are a little bit on the heftier side. So when they made the STI seats, they're kind of more flat. that makes any sense. If you get into a JDM Subaru, you'll know what I'm talking about. So it has an aftermarket exhaust. This is an absolute cannon. Holy smokes. Is that like a 3-inch, 3.5-inch exhaust? Quarter panel damage happening here. This is somebody removing all the trunk liner and just pounding it out with maybe a chisel or a sledge to get this to back out. So this is not its first rodeo. So that tells you immediately this car was absolutely thrashed. I mean, look at what's happening with the wheel here. So it needs suspension work. It's got the Rotas on here, but it has a nice set of Contis. The Extreme Contact DWS 06 Plus. I actually run these on my Spec B. These are a pretty penny. But this car, you have to have space for it. But if you really had another bug eye that you wanted to donate to put all these parts from this car onto that one, this could be a really good contender. Looks like your typical USDM EJ205. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. It's even got the stock downpipe. That's usually a dead giveaway if somebody's modifying this thing. So this is actually a huge plus that you can see that it hasn't been tampered with too much. So there's no crazy tune, hopefully with 30 PSI. Usually you'll see the electronic boost controllers on this side if somebody was really tampering with the stock tune. So maybe the engine's good. You never know. But this one was so tragic that I just had to take a moment to at least just look at this one time, because this thing really got destroyed. But you can tell at one point in time, somebody loved this thing to the moon and back. I'm telling you, just by all the custom work that was done to it. Look at the rear end. This is all completely custom. This is not what an old, what is this, 240Z used to look like. The hatch is completely done for. There's not one clean panel on this thing, except for the wheels and tires. They should have took these off. These look really nice. Maybe you just buy it for those. It's got 5-liter Ford V8 swap. That's the nice thing about these, is because the engine bay is so big. And I mean, this looks practically brand new. So really, if you're gonna buy this just to get all the goodies out of this, maybe that's the way to go. Because, man, this thing is just so stinking beautiful. You can even see the interior. I'm not gonna actually peel this off because it's not really my place to do it, but just take my word for it. It's got aftermarket gauges. The dash is completely gone. They redid everything. The shifter, the little switches down here. I mean, they took the seats out because I'm sure it had some really nice seats in it, but man, this is so sad. I got another enthusiast special here on this Mercedes, and I was just really perplexed at the attention to detail in if this is a paint job or a wrap, but I kind of like this panda theme they got going for them. And I don't know what it is with car enthusiasts nowadays and window banners, but this one is just kind of a mess. The paint job is pretty terrible when you come up and look at it closer. For somebody that's kind of into this stuff and they think that this would be a cool contender, this could be fun, but my God, this is just straight up rattle can. Do you see all this overspray on everything? They didn't even tape up one aspect of it. It looks like they went to their local hardware store, and they are just not cut out for this life, man. I mean, this paint job is absolutely horrendous. I see orange peel all over the place. I mean, look, it looks like they forgot to take a piece of the tape off when they painted this thing, so I think they were just kind of having fun with this one until they finally wrecked it. It was probably some teenager kid. They wanted to make their car look hot, but just kind of a goofy little automobile. I would never spend more than $50 on that, so. Honda Civic EJ1. I had one of these. I had a teal one back in the day. I actually did buy it from the auction. The interior was very moldy, so I had to take everything out and put it back together, and it had a bad door. That's where the body damage was. But it came out really nice, and that one was the EX model, had the D16Z6. That was a seriously fun little car. But man, this one has just had it. And that's kind of the story with this generation of Civic. They get stolen, they get torn up to bits because they're worth more in parts than anything. So this one, kind of the same story. Body's not too terrible. This is a junkyard contender though, for sure. I mean, there's really nothing left of it. I'm sure the engine's gone too, and it's an automatic. Yeah, but for somebody out there, maybe you need some goodies out of this thing. But you know, it's still got good carpet, the dash is good, steering wheel, even these door cards.
I love the dash in these though. It is just so cool.
But no way I'm gonna be bidding on this one. Wow, look at this one, an AP1 Honda S2000. And this is a beautiful car. It looks like it's an AP1 just by the front bumper design, because I believe they did the facelift on the AP2. And you can tell somebody synced a lot of money into this one. Just the dead giveaway is gonna be the carbon fiber hood. And if you are not an S2000 owner or don't know anybody that's in the S2000 game, it's insane how much these aftermarket parts for these cars can be. Like seriously, if you want to go take some time, go look up an S2000 hardtop right now and see how expensive they are. It's just absolutely insane. So this one's got a set of aftermarket wheels and tires, some Lexani tires. I don't know if these are any good. I've actually never ran these before, but they look nice. Got these aftermarket drilled and slotted brake rotors. So maybe they use this as like a track day vehicle, or maybe this was just kind of for some hot boy points. It may be a little bit overkill for the streets, but it definitely looks cool and it will make your car stop on a dime. But that's not the reason why this car is here. And it's 100% because of what happened here in the rear end. What's interesting too is I see that these wheels and tires, they have quite a bit of offset to the point that I feel like this would rub up against, but maybe something happened to the suspension here from the accident that happened with this one. It looks like this one spun out and it hit right here in this corner, but it's not that bad. The only thing that I would be more concerned about is what's happening here and why this has a donut on it, because I'm sure from the brutal hit, it actually destroyed the wheel over here, and then it will be really a question if the suspension is any good. But before I move over to that, let's take a look closer at what's happening underneath on this side. So as you can see, it has some aftermarket dual tip exhaust coming out the back, but I can see that it's not seated correctly. It's like this is higher up and this is lower. That could be something easy like an exhaust hanger. But then when I look, I see that the exhaust hanger is still connected. A little bit concerning from a subframe perspective. I mean, the best way would really to be put this thing up in the air and see what's going on underneath. Now you can see that this is kind of bent out of shape. I can see the crinkle happening here. So there would need to be some attention here. I think essentially you just have to pull this out a little bit, but really the quarter panel is not too bad. There is a little wrinkle right here. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that spot, but right there in the light, I can see it right there. But the most concerning part out of all this is the fact that this little lower arm right here is bent. Visually on camera, you may not be able to see it, but from where I'm standing right here, I can confirm that's 100% bent. So without a doubt, there needs to be some suspension work that needs to happen here to get everything to realign again. But really, if you wanted to take the time and effort and you got this for a good price, it all really depends on the price. This would be worth putting back together. The rest of the body's not too bad though. It does have some scrapes going along the side here, so it's got some safari stripes. But I think you could remedy this. You may be able to get this out, or you could respray it if you want. Now, is this an original Honda color? I feel like I've never seen this gray before. I've seen them in silver, but maybe one of you guys can chime in and let me know. And this looks like some pretty legit carbon fiber. Nice little piece there. Now, this convertible top, I'm suspecting to believe that this has been replaced at one point in time. It just doesn't look OEM to me, but maybe I'm crazy. It just looks like it has some warps and some wrinkles in it. Usually Honda OEM tops, they're very taut, very tight, but maybe it's just very old. And when I look on the inside, I see immediately that there's no key. So old Honda, you know, parts missing on the inside. I'm gonna guess this one was stolen. Just go back here. You see all that? Trim pieces missing, shift knobs missing, stereos pulled out. Yeah, I think this was a theft. This looks like a theft recovery. And I bet you this car has a lot of miles just by the steering wheel. See how worn down this is? This is like when you get past 150,000 miles on a car, you know what I mean? So it's also got these exposed wires down here. Maybe this is how they got into the car to get it to start. Just a bunch of relays though. They look to be okay, but it's not clean by any means. Somebody was tampering with this. Is this some sort of kill switch maybe? Very strange. But it's interesting because this is also the blue interior. I feel like you see a lot of the black and the red, but you don't see too many with the blue interior. It's still a beautiful car though. It's truly a shame. Personally, if I was gonna go out and spend the extra coin, I would probably go for one that hasn't been, modified as much. And I see right here that this is the original color, just as I suspected. So this car was actually blue at one point, but they resprayed it, and they did a pretty good job, I would say. To this gunmetal gray. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about this one, but man, it's nice. I really like the way it looks, but I don't know, there's a lot of little things with it. And then underneath the hood, I mean, you can tell somebody loved this thing, absolutely adored it. It's got the engine cold air intake, and it looks like they just freshly painted that valve cover. I mean, it is so freaking shiny. It's got the aftermarket headers, some Hasport engine mounts as well. What a beauty. I'm thinking this one got stolen. They must have been so devastated, maybe they couldn't find it for months. The insurance, I'm sure they paid them a small fortune. They're like, all right, screw it. And then now it's here at the auctions. So kind of a roll of the dice, but you get a key for this thing, you buy it, you fix it up in that corner, you got an S2K, not too bad.